we have the final three. We're gonna have them talking the fallen comrade conversation, as we like to call it, where our final three are gonna go back and talk to docs. They're gonna talk about all the players and the impact that they've had along the way and throughout the game here. Jess, you were part of it last season. It's a good way to kind of reflect on the past, and then once you get to the jury, kind of start to think about what they're thinking as well.
Yeah, no, it's a great way to celebrate all of your fallen explorers and just think about your whole game path. And yeah, it definitely does make you think, what votes am I going to get at the end when you're reflecting on all these people? Right. It's a great tradition.
Absolutely. Should be a lot of fun. So for that, let's throw things over to the host of Expedition Online, Docs.
All right, welcome to the Tribute to the Fallen. We're here with our final three, Rob, Daniel, and Justin. Guys, congratulations on making the final three. Before we go to the jury and you present your case, and actually you can pretty much pitch whatever you want. I'm going to assume that you're going to present your case to win, but if you want to talk to them about something else, that's up to you. But before we go to that final ascent, we're going to go through the Tribute to the Fallen. This is basically our way of showing you that, sure, you guys got to the finish line, but you didn't get here by yourself. And what we do is we go through one by one all of your other castmates and just get the opportunity to talk about them, talk about their game, say whatever you want. This is not gameplay. This is just a chance to reflect on the season before you guys go into the pressure cooker. So feel free to jump in as soon as you see a face, as soon as you feel inspired. Say something. This is not a crossroads. Don't wait for me to grill you. Let's just have a good time here, all right? Cool. So, Expedition Online Season 2, Tribute to the Fallen. Let's start off. Our first explorer that was voted off was Will. Will was on Team Ethan. He was voted out the first night. All three of you guys were Team Janet, so I don't know how much you have to say about Will. You did meet him on day 0, so maybe you've got something, and I'll talk about Will a bit as well.
I remember Will being super excited and super enthusiastic about the game, and it was kind of sad to see him leave so early on. I was hoping to play with him for a little bit.
Yeah, I feel like when we were discussing who we actually thought was going to get voted out that first crossroads, he was one of the ones who were like, it's not going to be Will. He knows Survivor so well. Mm-hmm. Like, we were shocked.
Yeah, I mean, I think him wearing that old school Survivor shirt is pretty telling. You know, Ethan, I think, picked him first. He did it for a reason. For someone who I have maybe spoken to once in my life, I have a surprisingly big impression of Will. So just a ton of good energy, loves the game, and it's too bad we didn't get to play with him for longer.
Yeah, I think actually, for having not met him, you guys really hit it. Will is a super fan, and he didn't hide that on day 0. And I do think that there were a lot of observations of, wow, we got to be careful with this guy. He knows the game really well. And I think that's what did him in. It was really sad to see him go because he was such a big fan of the game. And it would have been interesting to see how he navigated himself through it. Unfortunately, somebody has to be the first vote, and it doesn't really take much. And I think it was just came down to, he's a super fan, he's a threat, and it's not me. I think that's what they were thinking.
Him voting me out, or him getting voted out, actually really put me on my guard, because I consider myself to be someone who really knows this game, is a super fan. And I was like, whoa, like, if that guy can be voted out, like, you know, anyone can be. And it just makes you really look over your shoulder.
I think it set the tone for the whole season of, like, you got to be careful, because no matter what you're doing, the game is always happening, and the littlest thing could send you home, especially being such a huge fan.
Completely agree.
Yeah, well said, Will. We miss you. Let's go to Dakota, our second explorer that was voted out. Dakota, you do know. Dakota was in your Team Janet. So I'll let you guys talk about Dakota.
Dakota was a laugh. She was amazing to have in our shelter. I loved hanging out with her.
Yeah, I mean,
I felt so bad that she became the, like, easy vote for us because of an unfortunate circumstance, and I did try and save her.
I noticed that. Yeah, and I mean, I think if I ever picture Dakota, I don't think I can picture her without a bunch of dogs running around her, and I think she had a couple cats in there too. Absolute animal lover. She was another social worker, so really a someone who was in my neck of the woods. I talked to her a bit on day 0. I actually, really wanted to work with her. The game doesn't always work that way. But I think she's someone who, in another iteration of this game really could have made a run at it.
Yeah, you stole my bit. I was going to talk about her dog. I felt like she was the most likely candidate this season to have a dog mess up a challenge, which is my dream. And her journey was cut short. So we didn't really get too many opportunities for her dog to wreak havoc. But yeah, you stole my observation.
I think that's why Justin had to vote for her, was he wanted to take that title.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was all right, if someone's got to go, it's got to be someone else who could take what I want to be known for.
All right, so after Dakota, we had our swap. And your original party member, Jennifer, was the I guess she drew the short straw in the swap, and her expedition ended early. She was the third one voted out. Let's talk about Jennifer.
This was a heartbreaking crossroads.
The only person I made an official alliance with in this game, and she got voted out third.
Jennifer was, I think, the time when it really sunk in that the game was real. I mean, I liked Will as a person. I liked Dakota as a person, but Jennifer had her tech issues the first day, should have been way at the bottom. And just through her sociability, her challenge prowess, just generally being a good player, she clawed her way back in. And then, she and I were really close. And so her going home, I think, was the first of what would turn out to be a bunch of kind of painful eliminations.
Absolutely, especially since all we could do is sit back and watch as she got voted out by the other tribe.
Yeah, Justin gave it his all to save her.
Everything about that crossroads was probably the hardest part of this game for me. Not only did I not flip the vote, but my one alliance member was voted out.
Yeah, and also just game aside, an absolutely wonderful person. The world could use more Jennifers.
That's awesome. I will say Jennifer overcame tech issues, which you touched on. That's almost impossible to do in Expedition Online when you're looking for anything, any reason to vote somebody out. So she did get her footing, and as soon as she got her footing in the game, she got swap screwed. And she has been on our pre-jury, and I don't think I'm giving anything away by telling you guys this. She has been so into this season and so enthusiastic, and we missed out on a very enthusiastic player with her exit.
Well, I'm glad she's hung around because, after the game's over, I'm hoping we got another friend in her.
Pretty good chance of that for 2 out of 3 of you. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Wait, who's the third?
I just made that up. All right, so after Jennifer, in the same night, we lost Jack. Jack was original team Ethan. Some of you guys did get the chance to play with Jack, so let's talk about Jack.
Yeah, he was another one I never actually got to meet.
Jack was playing hard as soon as we had our swap, and he wasn't even supposed to go out this early, but Gideon had a compass on him that kept him safe, and Jack, unfortunately, was the next to go.
Yeah, I think one of the couple things that everyone in this game really wants to avoid is to go out with that feeling of, I could have tried a little harder to save myself. I could have done more. I don't think Jack's going to have that regret. He was put in a really tough situation with the swap, but he played every card he had, and he really gave it his all.
Yeah.
Justin, do you even know Jack?
I know the name.
Yeah, he was on your cast. Yeah, I mean, Jack, like Jennifer, Jack was swap screwed. You guys are absolutely right. He played as hard as he could. He was very enthusiastic. It was another tough boot. That was a night where the game lost 2 people that were really, really into the game, and they felt like their journey got cut way too short. It's too bad you guys didn't, too bad, Justin, you didn't get to meet Jack. He's great. We've really enjoyed having him also on the pre-jury, and I'm sure that you'll get to meet him after the game is over. But unfortunately, that's just the way it worked out for Jack this time around.
Yeah, and always love having another University of Michigan fan out there.
So after Jack, we lost Hannah, and I believe you all did get the chance to meet Hannah. She was originally Team Ethan, so why don't you guys reflect on Hannah's time in the game?
I remember in almost every challenge where our parties were up against each other, I felt like I was competing always directly against Hannah, and she was a mean, great competitor. So I have to commend her for that.
Yeah, I think she was one of my biggest strategy threats in this game. Her mind just was always moving. I felt like I was the one who was in the minority, and she was still constantly playing this game, and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing I was trying to do on day 0 was sort of pick out who are the people that are really going to be sharp and are going to try to figure out what's going on. And full disclosure, I spoke maybe 3 words to Hannah in my entire life, but just seeing her kind of play the game from afar, you could tell she had a finger to the pulse of the game. And if she had gotten more of a foothold, I think she really could have made some noise.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she told us after she was voted out. I was like, "What happened?" And she's like, "I'm surprised I made it this far." She felt like she got herself in trouble very early in the game, and she recovered from that. But she was voted out right before the rendezvous. She was the last vote out before we went to the jury.
Mm-hmm.
So
her vote out was something completely out of her control too.
Yeah.
If it weren't for a compass that was played on Justin
and Jared using an advantage.
Yeah. Jared
would still be here.
Getting safe.
Yeah. Great point. Just like Jack, Hannah there was 2 votes in a row where the Explorer was basically voted out because of advantages.
Mm-hmm.
It should be noted, so Hannah only had 2 votes against her, and both of them were people that were actually on the winning tribe who kind of just due to the nature of that council. She had 3 on her, and then 2 of the 3 were just due to the nature of that crossroads, they had a vote. So I mean, I think it shows how sharp a player she was, that it took very extraordinary circumstances to eliminate her.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good point.
And for her to be chosen by the other side, basically, I think is saying, you're a threat. We don't want you in this game because of it. She wasn't voted out by her own tribe. It was the other tribe who didn't have to worry about getting rid of a good player.
Right. Or the repercussions of getting rid of a good player. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So after Hannah was out, we went to the rendezvous, and we lost apparently the most educated guy on the in the game, Gabe. Let's talk about Gabe.
Oh man, my first experience with Gabe, I feel like I was so worried I was going to make him hate me, because that was the time when I tried to flip this game on its head, when I told Hannah that Gabe was going to vote against him, and I tried to flip them against each other. And I was so worried that he was going to come back after he stayed and just be like, "You suck. I'm never talking to you." But we talked it out, and we were both like, we're playing the game. Both of us are playing this game strong, nothing personal. And we both actually, I think he's a great guy.
Absolutely.
And I think Gabe is one of those people who, even without knowing him that well, you can just kind of tell from his presence that he's a really kind and caring person. So, he's someone who I actually really hope I get to know more after the game, just because, I didn't get too much of a chance to play with him. But I have no doubt that he's a really genuine human being.
And after he came back from the Trail of the Deserted, he still had a super positive attitude going through the game. And you could tell that he really was here to, play to win, not just to make it to jury, which he did.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe is just such a great dude. When it just comes down to it, I can't imagine anything rattling this guy. He's just got such a positive energy to him, and it's addictive, or it's not addictive, but it rubs off on you. It's like he just has that spirit. It's awesome. And having him as the mayor of the jury, first guy there, got a very positive vibe on the jury too. So if you're going to have anybody in your game who's going to be the first one on the jury, it's got to be Gabe, because he just sets that tone. So such a great dude. So Gabe was joined by Garrett at the next vote. This was also talking about, you guys this season, you gave us everything. This was an interesting vote as well. So let's talk about Garrett.
So, well, I will say that's probably the most costly nap any of us have ever taken. But on a more serious note, I don't think I've ever been as, like, within the game threatened by someone as I was by Garrett. Just watching that, the crossroads where we got to sit in, he just had this cool confidence. He was decisive. He had one of those personalities that you could tell people would gravitate to. So I think, like, Garrett was just the epitome of someone who had just all the tools you need to play this game.
I remember we all were convinced that the entire rest of his party was rallying all around him, and he was kind of the leader, shepherding everyone along.
Yeah, I was told that he played a mini actually and he won it. And I was like, how are people not targeting this guy when everyone knows he can win a game like this? And then after spending the 2 days with him on the swap tribe, I was like, okay, now I understand why no one's voting him out. He is so, like, just calm all the time and level-headed. And when I had my extreme crossroads trying to pit people against each other, he was there just like, all right, you're going to call out Gabe? I'm going to calmly basically shut you down. And I was just like, this is why this guy won.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's absolutely right. He was so calm. He really came here to have fun. Mm-hmm. He, like, took chances, but he was so calm. It didn't get him rattled at all. He enjoyed the chaos. So it was a really interesting player. And he definitely does have a very good handle on the game, and so he was a very dangerous player.
Yeah,
it's sleepy.
I think if life doesn't get in the way and he doesn't, get those 3 votes, it's really possible he's sitting here instead of one of the 3 of us.
Could be, yeah. So after Garrett was voted out, your original party member, Kyle. Let's talk about Kyle.
Absolutely.
Kyle, he was the biggest shock to me. I said this before. He was the person coming into this game, talking to him the first night. I thought he was going to be like a kind of lay back, let other people take control. Like, he'll be just hanging out there, getting in the alliance, following them. And it was the opposite. He was like ready to play this game. He found all these advantages. Like, I was shocked with how much he was in this game to win.
Kyle had to have had the biggest personality on this entire season. I mean, it's just a presence you could feel all the time. I mean, he always had something funny to say, or, he could tell you how to fix the random thing around your house that wasn't working. I mean, I think the guy has an absolute massive heart. And, within the game, I literally had to adjust to assume Kyle had a compass or some sort of advantage at every single crossroads just because he was that good at finding them.
Yeah.
And he also never shied away from helping any of us out if we were struggling in a challenge, in a practice time. He would always make sure to look at our form and say, hey, try this, try that, instead, to really make sure we were on our A game, which was, something you really see in a good leader.
There's a different world in which Kyle's a Super Bowl winning coach.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think early on in one of the crossroads, he let everybody off the hook. I asked, is there anybody who's taken the leadership role? And he says, nobody has to answer this. It's me. And everybody kind of agreed. And I think Gideon even said that Kyle was his dad. Like he definitely assumed that role. So he had a big target on his back because he was the leader, and that's just the way he plays. He also played really hard. It's like you said, he found all of these advantages. He played 2 compasses correctly. I think by the time you got to the rendezvous, he was this huge target. Is that right?
It is. Oh, yeah. But it wasn't just because of the strategy or anything like that. Like the kind of side of Kyle you don't see as much was when we were back at camp, and he would really let us into his life. I mean, He talked about his dogs. He showed us pictures of his wedding. I mean, it wasn't just, this guy's playing a big strategic game. It was also like, he's a genuinely good person. And if he's at the end, he's going to win.
I think that was actually in my voting confessional of like, if you are at the end and I'm on the jury, I'm voting your name down. So I'm voting it down tonight instead.
So we went from one big personality to another. Jared was the next one voted out. Jared, another one of your original Team Janets is making a run on Team Janets here, 2 in a row. Let's talk about Jared.
Jared was the person that I said day one, if I had to pick someone that I thought was the front runner to win this game at this point, Jared was the person that I said it was. I thought the way he spoke to everyone that first night was just so like endearing. And I was like, I know he's a great guy, and I know he does have a strategic mind. So there was nothing that he couldn't do in my eyes. Like I was like, he is the person who is going to win this game.
Yeah, I mean, Jared was, someone who I swore to him I'd never write his name down, and I meant every word of that. He has one of those personalities you gravitate to, and he was willing to set the game aside to really have real conversations. He would talk about the hard topics in the world, and he wouldn't be afraid to really stick to his convictions, even when things like that could be controversial in a game like this. So, I know that, I know that the game can be harsh sometimes, but I just felt like he was such a genuine human being, and he's someone I could see being in touch with for a long time after this.
Yeah, he was also just really funny, and I feel like a teacher saying this, but a joy to have in the party.
I mean, him whipping out 3 wigs before the scavenger hunt challenge was just a great moment this season.
Yeah, I can remember also like in intense moments, like before a challenge or something like this, he would do kind of a lighthearted dance or, something like this and just kind of show you where his head's at. And I remember asking him one time, hey, do you want to do that again? I don't think we were recording. Not only did he repeat it, I think he built it up and it was even bigger, like he took that and made it bigger. So it's just kind of his personality. It was great having Jared around.
Yeah, one of those people you can talk to, and it feels like 5 minutes and you look up at the clock and it's been an hour.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So after Jared, we lost Chantelle, an original Team Ethan party member. What do you guys remember about Chantelle?
I loved Chantelle. She was great. Like, just always willing to let her opinion be known, but never in a way that was demeaning or dismissive of anyone else's opinion, even if they were completely contradictory. I hated writing her name down to vote her out.
She was just so blunt with everything, and I loved it. Like, if she was thinking something, she said it. She didn't care if it was going to hurt her game, it was going to help her game. She just was like, this is what I'm thinking. This is what people should do. Screw you guys. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, Chantelle and I had a bit of an up and down relationship throughout the game, but I just think she's so real, and she has absolutely no issue sticking to her convictions and just courageously saying whatever she feels. So, I give her just so much credit for that. And, despite us going at each other in the game a bit, I think she's a wonderful person.
Yeah, Chantelle is another big personality. I talked to her after she was voted out. And I was like, are you holding back at Crossroads? Are you holding back? She's like, I've got to. Like I feel like I never got to fully experience the real Chantelle that you guys got to experience at camp, because she was holding herself back, trying not to get in trouble when everybody was voting.
Well, you may experience the real Chantelle during her 5-minute Q&A today.
Yeah,
I mean, let's find
She's
out.
got
right?
no danger of going home.
I feel confident she's got something good in store for us.
I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm not nervous at all about it. Don't know how you guys feel, but I'm not nervous at all about it. So after Chantelle, we lost Maddie to the Wheel of Destiny.
She was the best.
I've never been so heartbroken in this game. Like, I know I've said before that, like, oh, that's when the game got real, but like, I don't think I can describe kind of like the emptiness I just felt like without Maddie's presence there. She was my rock throughout the whole game. And I think, we can try to give one person or another person on our alliance credit for moves, but Maddie was sitting there pulling the strings from the background. So amazing player, amazing friend. And, you know, the second she left, the game wasn't the same without her.
Yeah, there'd be times where she and I would just go into another room just so that we didn't have to talk strategy with anyone and kind of isolate ourselves from the discussions around camp. I miss that.
After the Jared vote, I was worried that people were going to be really mad, and she was still just so warm to me. And I was like, I knew, like, we were on basically at that point opposite sides of the game, and she was still just like amazing to talk to me. And it made me feel great because I knew that people, at least I was hoping people weren't taking this game personal.
Mm-hmm.
And I think she was one person that definitely wasn't doing that at any point.
Yeah, I mean, she and I talked from day one about going to the end together. And, you know, this is nothing against either of the people I'm going to be at the end with. But I think the biggest kind of hole in my game right now is the fact that Maddie's not one of the people sitting next to me at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like I said, the Wheel of Destiny. It's really a tough way to go out. Maddie was a very exciting player to watch and see how she did things. And she just allowed her game to go to chance, and it didn't work out. Tough way to lose somebody to the game.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially since there's a 1/3 chance that it could have been either myself or Justin on this slide right now.
And you're both in the finals. Yeah. So after Maddie, Ryan
is like, I don't know if I've ever seen someone become such a big threat by literally just being themselves. Like, he just, there's no, like, he played a decent game and all that, but it wasn't even gameplay. He's just Ryan, and he's just awesome.
And that's what I felt the most bad about when we voted him out, because he was pitching like, I'm not playing this game amazingly. And the thing was, it's like, you don't have to, Ryan. You don't have to play this game amazing, because everyone loves you just because of who you are. That is why he went home, is because he will win this game because of who he is. It's nothing to do with his gameplay at all. And I'm not saying he was playing a bad game, but he didn't need to play a good game.
I feel like Ryan could write my name down 1,000 times in a row, and I'd never be mad at him. I'd still write his name down to win at the end. You just can't be mad at the guy.
That is a strong personality trait to have in a game like this.
And I think it's also important that we note his, work rallying to prevent hate violence against Asian Americans, which I know we kind of worked around this past weekend. So I think it's important to note right here.
Yeah, if there's ever a reason to push the game around, doing advocacy work for something he really believes in is about as good as you're going to get.
Yeah, Ryan was great. And you guys said, he's a threat. It would come up. We'd be in crossroads. His name would come up. People would talk about it. He survived that so many times. And a lot of the times he survived it, he knew the heat was on him, and he just started debating, and he would bring up like great points. And if there's ever a live crossroads, I feel like he could sway people.
Yeah, people that are that nice and are jury threats for that usually get voted out like 9th. And he was a couple challenge wins away from winning the game.
Yeah, got really close. And the absolute best moment of the season for me was when Ryan was talking to Ethan, and after Ethan had been in camp for a while, and Ryan says, "I don't know who you are, but you seem like a nice guy." Like, it was awesome. It's like, it's just legend. He's like, "Man, I just don't know who you are." Guys, watched one season of Survivor. If that's true, we'll find out tonight after this is all over. If that's true, or if that was a bit, I cannot wait to find out if that's true.
Yeah, our super fan knowledge couldn't compete with Ryan just being a nice person.
Yeah, well said. So after Ryan, we lost another one of our young guys, Gideon.
Yeah,
Gideon, the man with 9 lives, I think.
Gideon went out this game kicking and screaming. He did absolutely everything in his power to ensure he stayed in for as long as possible, which I really respect.
Well, here's the thing about Gideon is he had a lot of kind of like big-ish moves where he was able to scratch and claw and save himself. But the part you don't see is that I think he, out of anyone in this game, was best at a lot of the little subtle things. Like, he would just say 1 or 2 lines that would get the minority vote off of him and onto somebody else, so that if there was a compass or an advantage played, he'd be safe. He was good at, doing enough in the challenges to really put himself overboard while still not being seen as a massive challenge threat. So a lot of those things that you don't see because they're not big and flashy, Gideon was good at all of them.
And I think he is the person that wanted to win the most in this game.
Mm-hmm.
When we had to vote, when I knew I had to vote him out because I had no chance against him. And I could see it was crushing him. And that alone almost made me be like, forget it. I'll throw my game away. I feel so bad that I can see in his eyes how it's crushing him that he's not going to make it another vote. That I was almost like, all right, screw it. I'm done. Like, I'll lose.
Yeah, I don't think I'd ever throw my game away for someone else, but if I was going to do it, it would probably be for Gideon.
Yeah, absolutely. And he came to multiple crossroads where he was the target or he was in the bottom, and he never gave up. And you can tell each one of these, you could tell how passionate he was about it, how much he was putting into the game. And I really loved even to the very end when it was clear that he was going to get 3 out of the 4 votes. He didn't roll over. He still fought for it until the votes were read.
Mm-hmm.
He's a true gamer. And
he made me so nervous at that front because what he was saying, I was like, I don't doubt if he's going to be able to flip a vote here.
He almost flipped your vote, apparently.
He almost flipped mine to vote for myself.
I think if there were like superlatives and there was like a most likely to win survivor, I'd probably vote for Gideon.
Well, there's not, but that's a nice sentiment.
Fair enough.
So,
I'm going to miss you, Docs.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time out before we go to the final ascent and talking about your fellow castmates and the other explorers that were on this journey with you. And I hope that you guys appreciate that you couldn't get to where you are now without them. But we are going to switch gears. I'm going to give you guys time to go back to camp and prepare yourself. And the next time I see you, you will plead your case, whatever that is, to the jury at the final ascent. Best of luck, guys.